This is where things get interesting from a social perspective. The lord would often have a monopoly on milling in his domain. This was called suit of mill. It meant that all the peasants and tenants on his land were legally required to bring their grain to his mill, and his mill only. They couldn't use their own handquans, which were often banned and even confiscated. Of course, this service wasn't free. The miller, who was essentially the lord's employee, would take a portion of the flour as payment. This was known as the multure, and it was often a significant amount, sometimes as much as 1/16 of the flour. This monopoly naturally led to a lot of tension. The miller was a powerful figure in the village, but he wasn't always a popular one. People suspected them of being dishonest, of taking more than their fair share of flour. There were countless stories and jokes about millers with golden thumbs, meaning they grew rich by pressing down on the scales when weighing the flour. Chaucer's miller in the Canterbury Tales is a perfect example. A brawny, cheating, dishonest character who was a master at stealing corn. While this is a stereotype, the potential for corruption was very real, and peasants had little recourse against a miller backed by the lord. Despite this reputation, the miller's job was difficult and required immense skill. He had to be a jacuveltrades, an engineer to maintain the complex wooden machinery, a stone dresser to keep the millstones in perfect condition, a business manager to handle the accounts, and even a weather forecaster to know when the wind or water would be best. The mill was a noisy, dusty, and dangerous place to work. The air was thick with flour dust, which could lead to a lung condition known as miller's cough. And the powerful machinery could easily cause horrific injuries if you weren't careful. The mill wasn't just a place of work. It was a social hub. People would have to wait for their grain to be milled, so it became a place to gather, exchange news, and gossip. It was a focal point of village life, as essential as the church or the blacksmith's forge. Its rhythm, the creak of the wheel, the rumble of the stones, was the rhythm of the village itself. By the end of the Middle Ages, these milling techniques had become incredibly refined. They represented the peak of medieval technology and were a critical part of the agricultural revolution of the time. By freeing up labor from the daily grind of hand milling, they allowed communities to become more productive and support larger populations. The medieval mill, in all its noisy, dusty glory, laid the foundation for the industrial innovations that were to come. It was more than just a machine for grinding grain. It was the engine that powered medieval life.